Our highest priority in the state of Maryland, and the most sacred priority of any government at any level, is the public safety. I'm Governor Martin O'Malley, and today I wanted to talk with you about some of the things that we're doing together in Maryland to protect all of our children from predators, as well as some of the things that we can do together to make our children safer. In the past 3 years, working with law enforcement in every part of our state, together as One Maryland, we've driven violent crime down to its lowest levels since 1987. Including the steepest 3-year reduction in homicides since the 1970s and a 46% reduction in juvenile homicides over the same period of time. But in our state, where we are united by our belief in the dignity of every individual and our belief that there is no such thing as a spare Marylander, the loss of even one innocent life is unacceptable. Our administration has set the big and important goal of reducing violent crime against women and children by 25% by 2012. And in 2007, I proudly signed Jessica's Law to take violent sex offenders off of our streets. Working together with partners throughout our state, we have a number of initiatives underway that are designed to better protect our children from sexual predators. These include the use of emerging technologies like clinical polygraph examinations, computer monitoring, and GPS tracking, which we're currently using to track 231 sex offenders. And because we're working together to close the backlog that we inherited of 24,000 unanalyzed and 15,000 uncollected DNA samples, we've been able to use that newly uncovered evidence to arrest 106 sex offenders. But we can and must do even more to protect our children. This session, our administration is asking the General Assembly to pass an array of tough new reforms to protect our kids. Specifically, we are proposing, number one, to require the most serious sex offenders to be monitored by law enforcement for the rest of their lives, thus aligning Maryland with 24 other states which currently have some sort of lifetime supervision law on their books. Number two, we've introduced legislation in this year's General Assembly to better align Maryland's sex offender laws and the terms and the language used so that we can better cooperate and coordinate with our federal government. Not only will this allow us to draw down federal grants into the future to help protect our kids, it will also make sure that no predator ever thinks they can come to Maryland in order to exploit some sort of language loophole. Number three, we have introduced legislation to classify persons convicted of child pornography and indecent exposure to minors as sex offenders and require that they register as such. Number four, we've introduced legislation to require more employees at facilities that care for or supervise children to undergo criminal background checks. And number five, we've introduced legislation to reform the Maryland Sexual Offender Advisory Board so that its members will actually be required to have relevant experience and expertise so that the board's charge will be targeted and focused on important priorities like developing risk assessment criteria so that we can better supervise offenders. We can pass these important reforms, but we cannot do it alone. I hope that you will call or write your senator or your delegates, or both, and ask them to support this important common sense legislation this session. I encourage you to visit our Crime Control and Prevention website to learn more, goccp.maryland.gov. Working together, we can do a better job of protecting, strengthening, and defending our hardworking families. Thanks very, very much.